Well, I want to put the question out to you. When do you take down your Christmas tree? Actually, I'm going to leave my Christmas tree up another 2 weeks. It's not that I'm lazy or anything. It's just that it goes back to another tradition that really is a family tradition that came from people in the neighborhood in the 1920s, 30s, and 40s that were friends in the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, and 80s, and thereafter, because the Italian family came, we grew up in a Russian neighborhood. Now, when you're celebrating Christmas, normally you're thinking December 25th. I know there's like some people say there's the pagan annotations, but I really don't care. It's like a feast of Saturnus, the tree, whatever it came from, fine. But it's celebrating Christmas. It's celebrating the birth of Christ, but it's also celebrating a time of the year. It's also celebrating just getting together with family. It's a tradition. It's a lot of different things actually all wrapped up into one. And it's actually something I think you shouldn't be one day only. Because after Thanksgiving, basically, that's when everybody really should be. That's when I'm start decorating for Christmas, right? I'd say December 1st. Now, I took down my outside lights because there were so many of them. But I'm leaving the tree up for another 2 weeks. And I wanted to get going on the outside lights because that was an all-day chore. There's and it took me probably a couple weeks to put them all up, too. That was not like a lot of stairs. They come down faster. But the tree's staying up. The tree's staying up. And there's other decorations that are staying up on the inside. So, it actually comes from a Russian tradition. The reason it's Russian, really, December 25th, on the old Julian calendar is when they modified it to Gregorian calendar, is actually January 7th. So the Russians celebrate, or the Eastern Orthodox Church celebrates Christmas on January 7th. Now, the Italian family that grew up in a neighborhood in New Jersey, they were the only Italian family in a Russian neighborhood. So all their friends, the Italian families celebrated Christmas on December 25th. And, all their friends, everybody in the neighborhood celebrated it on January 7th. But this continued on afterwards, even after the family moved out of the neighborhood, because they had these lifelong friends, because my grandmother was, like the mother to these other kids, and then they grew up with my mother, and they were all friends, So I was always, when the Christmas came around, it was like a long period of time. It wasn't one day. So actually, this is me really back in when I was 1 year old, back in the mid '50s. This is the picture looks a little reddish because back then the color film was like brand new. I mean, most everything back then, if you took a picture, was black and white. This was like that real high tech picture. But you used a real tree. And you did not have artificial trees back then because the artificial trees look like garbage. Now they look pretty damn good. They even look better than the real trees. But, when you had a real tree, you had to keep adding water to it. And, it went up early and it stayed up a long period of time because it was up till at least January 7th because the people that were the friends of the Italian family, they would not necessarily come over to the house to celebrate, for Christmas on January 7th because they would be there with their family. They might come after that, or they might come before that. But, the Christmas tree stayed up quite a long period of time. And, it's actually celebrating a season. So here's another picture of me back, when I was like 3 or something, or whatever, in the 50s. So, it's celebrating a season. No, this is not in Moscow. This is actually up in New Jersey, in the snow country. So, it's celebrating a season. It's celebrating driving to work, whatever the hell it is. That's my dad's car, the old DeSoto, Chrysler, whatever the hell that was. He should have kept it. But it's new tech stuff. But, it's like it's celebrating a tradition. It's celebrating because every time there's a Christmas, and, everybody, I know, well, even in the South, everybody even associates. Well, you know what? I don't know. In the South, they don't decorate as much, it seems, as in the North. The North, they go to town, usually, more so. But it has to do with a season, a changing of the seasons, too. And it has to do with a certain time of the year where you're coming into, it's a new cycle. It's a new cycle that's coming around. It's not even all about. I know it's about the Christ birthday, but it's also about, it's a new cycle. It's a reawakening. It's like, everything changes over. We're coming into a new year. And it's also family traditions, because every time you celebrate Christmas, you bring back all those family traditions. And no, again, this is not Siberia, Moscow, or anything like that. This is up in the north area of New Jersey. So, but, it's like something whereby I think it's something that should not just be a day. I know that, these people that are, what do you call it, these state-run, I don't even want to dwell on this too much, but you know how they're trying to make Christmas almost like politically incorrect a little bit in some ways, or it's just too commercialistic? I don't really think of it that way. I think it should last far more than a day. So, when I look at Christmas, I want to be reminded of Christmas, and I realize that it really could go from December 25th to, say, January 6th, which some people celebrate the 12 days of Christmas, or all the way from December 25th to at least January 7th, which is the Russian Christmas. Then you can celebrate the 12 days of Christmas thereafter. So I usually go to at least January 7th or to January 15th, and I put my tree up in early December. So it's like Christmas is more than... It represents something. I mean, I don't want to make it sound like it doesn't represent Christ. I know it represents Christ, but it's like it's a whole lot of different things besides that. And it just represents something like a spirituality of, like, what we celebrate is the birth of Christ, but like, the family, the unity of mankind, goodwill and good wishes for a new year, a rebirth, a renewing, and everything else. So, to me, I just hate, it's like, I'm not going to leave it up in July, the Christmas tree, but I always leave it up extra long. And a lot of people might find that a little bit unusual, but it's not so unusual because, like I said, a lot of people that were friends of the family, lifelong friends, and it went all the way back to the 1920s, actually. That children of the family and all this, because the original Italian family that came here, not that many years, I'd say more like in the 1900s they came here, but early 1900s. But in the 1920s, by the time they got established and they had their own house, and it was in a Russian neighborhood, and so they had, the Russian Christmas and the Roman Catholic Christmas. So it made it like Christmas was December 25th through January 7th, plus you put it up earlier before December 25th, and you went past January 7th. So it was like an extra long season. So, but I think Christmas should be more than just a day, and you should be reminded of Christmas and what it really stands for. It's like the brotherhood of the entire human race, the brotherhood and sisterhood of the entire human race. And, celebrating feast of what we have, celebrating a new season, celebrating that your DeSoto starts up in the morning, and even when it's cold out. I don't know, this was a long time ago. I remember this. I was like, wow, yeah, you should have kept that car, man. That was the car, none of this new stuff. But anyway, you got to go with a classic. But anyway, the thing is that when we have Christmas, it becomes too much of a rush season, and a lot of people forget what it's about. So I think that people should remember it, and also remember all the past Christmases that they had, and build upon that. Because it's more than a season of it's about celebrating Christ, but it's also about celebrating family and everybody that gets together, remembering everybody, remembering everything from the past, and all that. It's all that put together. So, you could honestly celebrate it from at least early December up through January 5th, through the New Year's to the Russian Christmas of January 7th, and beyond. And if you want to go to the 12 days of Christmas past January 7th, because you can count it that way. So I just want to put this out here, a little bit of food for thought, and don't want to really get down to too much in the nitpicky stuff that some people do, but you know what I mean. It's more like, to me, Christmas is, well, it's Christmas. You know what I mean? I mean, people are, jeez, I don't even, it's almost like, I don't even want to get into the debate, the head-on debate type stuff. But it's almost like, if somebody says, "Whoa, you got to be I'm celebrating Christmas." You can celebrate whatever you want. I'm celebrating Christmas. That's the way it goes, man. And to me, it's a season it's a good feeling season where things are basically going right, and there's peace on earth, goodwill to all mankind, and we hope for a new beginning and a new fresh start, and things to go much better in the new year, and we think about and celebrate the birth of Christ. That's what it is, and it's besides that, it's also a family tradition that goes back many, many decades.